Hey everyone, welcome back to the workshop. Artisan Pirate here, and in today's fun scroll saw project video, I have another amazing design by Steve Good. I've already got the pattern printed out to its full size, prepped, and attached to our material with clear packing tape. And all the material in today's project is going to be basic 1/2 inch construction grade plywood. And it's my hope that when I use this material over here on the channel to document videos, that it inspires you guys to try it as well. I know it's not that expensive to go and pick up from a big box store, and it's a great alternative to learn scroll sawing on, as opposed to going and picking up more expensive materials such as Baltic birch plywood and materials like that. It can produce great and amazing projects if you just take a little bit more extra time over on the scroll saw, and especially when you go to sand and everything. Again, that's why I like using it, and it's also a throwback aspect for me for when I first learned over on the scroll saw. But today's project, again a Steve Good design, is going to be a beautiful and tropical shorebird. Now these birds and feathered wrens are iconic fixtures of the coastline. We see them every time we take the vacation or travel to the coast for a day trip. You know, in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, they are along the shore. They are very people friendly. They'll come right up to you, and they're always out on the docks and the piers. It's going to have a nice little circular base there, and we're going to use, again, all 1/2 inch material here. The base does have a little tab there for the backer board there, which you see is the silhouette of the bird and the pollen it's sitting on, so we'll take careful measurements when cutting out that tab to make sure for a secure fit. And then the main bulk of the scroll saw work is the shorebird and the pollen it is setting on. And Steve Good also added some nice little floral design here on the side to give it some extra detail. But there you see it, and it's got a lot of those sharp V-turns in it, and you guys know how we accomplish those over on the scroll saw. For me personally, what I would do is go on one side of that V, back it out, and then go in the other side to get as fine a V point as I possibly can. But really, really cool. I'm really happy to cut this project out and add it to the tropical collection. And since everything is prepped, let's move the camera over to the workbench so we can come back to the scroll saw and start scrolling. And over here on the workbench, we are going to take the Seiko scroller's drill and drill out all of the pilot holes for internal cutting. And it's not very many on this project, but still enough to give it some great detail once it's done. Over here at the scroll saw, I'll begin by cutting out that slot to accept the tab, and I'll quickly test fit it before continuing on with the rest of the internal cuts. For all of the scrolling on this project, I will be using a number 5 Ultra reverse tooth blade, and they'll cut through all the material exceptionally well with minimal chip out, which is always good when it comes time for sanding. Again, there's not very many internal cuts on this project. I think it's maybe 10 or 12 in all, but still enough to bring the project to life once it is fully completed. Again, all of the material here is 1/2 inch construction grade plywood, and I think this material is often overlooked, but I feel that if you take your time and work with it as I am doing here, it can produce amazing and unique designs for scroll saw woodworking. And using the plywood, as always, is a throwback for me because it's what I first learned on when I began my scroll saw woodworking journey. Doing the final internal cut there, and now we can begin releasing all of the pieces from the waste wood. And I'm doing the base here, and it basically consists of 2 circles to make a kind of tiered appearance. But then we will cut out the backer board here, and again all of this is that same 1/2 inch plywood. If you guys like what you're seeing, I would highly encourage you to subscribe to my channel and also follow me across all my social medias under the Artisan Pirate name. I'd really appreciate the support. But once we come around here, I will move the camera once again, and we will do the final bit of scroll work, which is releasing the actual shorebird piece from the waste wood. And I am being as loyal as I can be to the cut line, and of course I'm taking my time and letting the blade do the work. But again, these little birds are iconic fixtures of coastal towns, and of course the beach. We see them every time we go to Myrtle Beach. and they are full of so much personality and are very people friendly. But now that all the scroll work is done, we can step over to the workbench and remove all the pieces from the waste wood and get our first visual of what the finished project will hopefully look like. And then we will head to sanding with 180 grit Klingspor Woodworking Shop sandpaper in the vibrating palm sander. And I'm using small circular motions to sand the front and back of each piece. And then after all of the sanding is done here, it will be time to begin the initial glue up, which is gluing the base together. And I'll be using medium grade CA glue and activator. And then we'll glue the backer board into the tab here. And I'll give it around 5 minutes to completely cure and set up. And while it was drying, I got set up to add a splash of color. And I stained the actual scroll work here a lighter shade of Minwax wood stain to still allow the natural grains and textures of the 1/2-inch plywood to shine through. And I was really running out of stain here. I was really scraping the bottom of both containers here, so I need to get some more. And the base and backer board, I done a darker color to complement the lighter stain we done the scroll work with. But after everything dried for around an hour, it was time to do the final glue up, which of course was gluing the shorebird to the backer board here. And I did use some additional spring clamps here to make sure everything was locked in place. And I again gave it about 5 minutes to cure and set up. And then I came back and removed the clamps and took the piece outside into the bright summer sun and gave it several coats of Rust-Oleum clear gloss. And when that dried, the project was complete. And here we have the completed tropical shorebird project, completely cut out over on the scroll saw, and it finished up amazingly well with some beautiful details in it. Thank you, Steve Good, for another fantastic design from your pattern catalog. Once again, it's one of his newer designs. If you guys would like to go back in the catalog and download it and try it for yourselves, it took me around 30 minutes to scroll this project out completely from start to finish over on the scroll saw. It's not overly complicated, but there is some tedious details, such as in the eye and that little part there, and especially all of the little V-cuts you have to do in the bird's wing here and the plumage around his neck. But you guys know how I tackle those tight V-turns. I go in one side of the V-cut, back the blade out, and go into waste wood and go in the other side to get as fine a V-point as I possibly can, and hopefully they all show up nice and crisp on camera. I know they do when I'm here looking at it. Again, this project was cut out completely from 1/2-inch construction grade plywood. It's readily available in most stores that sell lumber, you know, like at the big box lumber yards and everything, and it's relatively cheap. And again, I feel it's a great alternative to make some projects on, and it's a fantastic material if you are just getting into scroll sawing and you want to try some projects without going the extra mile and purchasing the more expensive and robust Baltic birch plywood. But I still think it finished up amazingly well, and hopefully projects that I make out of the construction grade plywood shows you guys that with just a little bit more time and effort over on the scroll saw and being careful when you sand everything and then apply finishes to it, it can still finish up amazingly well and just as good, if not sometimes a little bit better, than the exotic or hardwoods. And I always enjoy using the plywood over here on the channel because, again, it is a throwback from when I first started learning how to scroll saw. But you can easily tell what everything here is. You have the tropical shorebird at the top of the post or piling. You know, they are iconic fixtures at the end of a fishing pier and things like that. And then a nice little bit of foliage and floral decor right there along the side, capped off on a 2 circular base to give it that kind of tiered appearance. But again, made out of completely 100% upcycled material that was given to me. So really cool. But with all scroll saw woodworking projects, you can of course make this out of exotic or hardwoods to let the natural colors and textures of those materials shine through. And if you wanted to cut it out of a lighter material, say like pine, if that was readily available in your area, you could of course cut it out, sand it, and go in and paint everything to bring your scroll saw woodworking project to that next level and make it go above and beyond. But I finished this one in my standard rustic finishing way. I stained the main bulk of the scroll saw work a light minwax wood stain that still allowed that natural grain and texture to shine through, and I stained the base and the backer board here a darker stain to hopefully complement everything and help tie everything together with that rustic vibe I was going for. And then we finished everything off with several coats of Rust-Oleum clear gloss out in the summer sun. But I hope this video has inspired you guys to try this project and hopefully try some projects out of construction grade plywood. I know making this project and seeing the little bird come to life, it made me that much more excited to go to the beach this year and see these little iconic creatures, you know, hopping along the shoreline looking for a scrap of food, and of course sitting on the end of 2nd Avenue Pier where we like to go and walk on this near the hotel we like to go to. But really cool. I had a lot of fun in today's video, and I hope you guys like watching me make today's summertime project. We have another tropical and nautical piece to add to the ever-expanding beach decor collection, so really cool. If you're new to the channel, hopefully you'll click that subscribe button and also follow me across all my social medias under the Artisan Pirate name. As always, links to contact me as well as all my social medias will always be linked down in the description box below these videos. That's about all for this one, and remember guys, if I can make it or do it, so can you. I'm the Artisan Pirate. Take care, and I'll see you guys real soon.